The moment my niece stepped into the house, Max and Ruby knew. Their ears perked, their eyes locked onto her, and their bodies tensed. They didn't wag their tails. They didn't move. Then they growled. Before we begin, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. I laughed at first. Guys, it's just her. But they wouldn't relax. Their heads turned toward the windows, their bodies staying close to her. Like they were waiting for something. That's when I saw my niece's face, pale, uneasy. Her small hands clenched the straps of her backpack. She kept glancing at the window, eyes darting away like she didn't want me to notice. Something was wrong. And Max and Ruby knew it before I did. By dinner, their behavior got even weirder. They sat on either side of her like guards, their eyes flicking between her and the door. When I called them to eat, they didn't move. Max never missed dinner. My niece barely touched her food. Every few minutes, her gaze flicked to the windows. Then, deep in the night, a growl. Ruby first. Low and steady. Max followed, standing up, tail stiff. They faced the front door, muscles coiled. Then came the barking, wild, uncontrollable. They clawed at the door, teeth bared. A loud bang. 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 My breath caught. Someone, or something, was outside. I swallowed hard and reached for the handle. Slowly, I pulled the door open. And what I saw made my blood run cold. The next morning, a sharp knock on the door startled me. Mrs. Kramer, our elderly neighbor, stood there, clutching her cardigan. Her face was tense. "Is your niece okay?" she asked, skipping the small talk. I frowned. "Why do you ask?" She glanced over her shoulder. "I've seen kids hanging around your yard. They weren't playing. Just watching." A chill ran through me. "They were out there last night," she added, voice barely above a whisper. "Right before your dogs went crazy." My mind raced. Watching the house? Watching her? Why? Behind me, Max and Ruby stood at attention again. Their eyes locked on the door. Their instincts told them the danger wasn't over. And suddenly, I wasn't so sure either. I had to get my niece out of the house. "How about some ice cream?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. It wasn't excitement, but it was something. At the park, she climbed onto a swing, pushing lightly with her feet. For a moment, she looked almost okay. Then I saw them. A group of older kids on bikes, lurking at the edge of the park. They weren't laughing. They weren't playing. They were just watching. My niece saw them too. And instantly, her whole body tensed. Max and Ruby reacted before I could. Their heads snapped toward the group. A deep, warning growl rumbled in Max's throat. The kids didn't move. They didn't speak. They just smirked. Like they knew something I didn't. I stepped forward, heart pounding. "Sweetheart, do you know them?" She slid off the swing. Her hands balled into fists. She didn't answer. She just wanted to leave. And suddenly, I wasn't just worried anymore. I was angry. Back home, my niece curled up on the couch, hugging her knees. Max and Ruby flanked her, their presence grounding her. I sat beside her. "Sweetheart, do they bother you?" She hesitated. Then, barely above a whisper, "They say mean things to me." A lump formed in my throat. "Like what?" Her fingers traced the fabric of the couch. "That I'm weird. That I should go away." My hands clenched. My jaw tightened. Beside us, Max exhaled heavily, pressing his head against her leg. Ruby leaned into her, silent but firm. They had known. Before I did. Before anyone did. They weren't just protecting her. They were guarding her from something real. And now, so was I. I made some calls. First to my sister. Then to the neighborhood parents. We had to address this. By the weekend, we sat together in my living room. My sister kept a protective hand on my niece's back. The kids sat beside their parents, fidgeting, avoiding eye contact. I spoke calmly. "We just want to understand." The kids looked guilty. One of the older boys muttered. We didn't think it was a big deal. A parent turned to their son, voice firm. You don't have to like everyone. But you do have to be kind. Slowly, things started to change. No forced apologies. No instant friendships. But the whispers stopped. The smirks faded. The kids nodded at my niece in passing. And little by little, she came back to life. One afternoon, I found my niece in the backyard, laughing. Max nudged a ball toward her. Ruby flopped beside her, eyes half closed, finally at peace. I watched from the doorway, smiling. Max and Ruby had been her protectors. Her silent guardians. They knew before we did. And even now, as the danger faded, they stayed close. Because that's what dogs do. Some bonds can't be explained. They can only be felt. As the sun dipped low, my niece curled against Max's side, her little fingers weaving through his fur. Ruby let out a deep, satisfied sigh. Their job wasn't over. But for now, all was right.